order to make these classes as freely accessible as possible to our participants, we will be using a verbal warning and assumption of risk at the beginning of the class. Participation in this online class is voluntary. Physical activity programs may result in injury, and by participating, you assume the risk of injury that may result from your participation. We strongly recommend that you participate from a space that is suitable for this activity. For example, make sure that you have moved nearby furniture and other potential hazards. If you are participating in a yoga class or class that involves lying on the ground, we recommend using a mat, or if you don't have one, a carpeted area. Participants are encouraged to stop if they experience pain or injury and should seek appropriate medical advice or care as needed. William & Mary Health and Wellness strongly recommends that each participant have an annual physical examination and follow the advice of their healthcare provider before participating. So, hi guys, welcome to Barre. You won't need any equipment today, just a chair or something to lean against. Today is a TikTok theme, so we have a playlist going along. So I'm gonna play it just alongside of you guys. You won't hear it through here, it's all muted, but just so we can kind of be on the same page. I almost had it set to like shuffle, so that would not have been good. But we're gonna start with our feet in a shoulder width stance. Having that firm base, our weight in our heels, putting our arms into a T-like field goal position. You can put them in fists, lightly just like do nice hands here, whatever you're feeling. We're gonna do some knee ups to start off the class. So as we bring up our knees towards our chest, we're keeping our toes pointed down towards the floor. We're trying not to shift our weight from side to side. We want to keep that really strong core here. Make sure that we're breathing as we go through this motion. For our last 4. Last 2. And last 1. We're going to hit some kickbacks. So sending our heel backwards towards the back of the room like you're kicking maybe your sibling behind you. You can also pump these arms like Superman, tearing open maybe your chest, showing that S if you have it underneath. We're just getting our heart pumping to start off this class here. For 4, 3, 2. We're gonna add on a squat here. So as you come down, just taking it a little bit slower, sending our glutes towards the back of the room. Our weight stays in those heels. We're gonna keep moving. I'm just gonna show you a side view of this now. So sending our glutes back. We have that nice line from our shoulders to our hips. And doing this for 4, 3, last 2, last 1. We can shake it on out, just loosening up those legs. Just to introduce, Barre is a mixture of traditional strength training, yoga, and Pilates. So we're starting off with a little bit more cardio here, just to get our blood pumping. But throughout this class, feel free to just take a break, grab water, grab a towel, whatever you need. Obviously, this is a virtual class, so you can do whatever you want. I will not be here to watch you or tell you anything. This should be your workout in your class. That being said, it is currently the Tuesday slide if you're on the playlist. So we're gonna start off in a curtsy lunge. So taking our left leg, sending it back behind our right. Our toes are still gonna be pointed forward. Our hips are level. Bending both knees in our curtsy here. So we're lifting that back heel up off the ground. As you can see, our front heel is going to stay planted. Doing whatever you feel with your arms. I like to put it in almost this O position. Starting to feel it work that front glute and quad on that right leg. For 4, 3, 2, and 1. You can either step or hop or slide on over to the other side of the mat. I think I got a little splinter in my foot. Goodness. And then we're going to send
our right leg back behind, going into our curtsy lunges on this side. Just warming up our body, getting used to these movements, checking in on that form, making sure that we're not sending our hips back. Both of our legs are going to be bent, keeping that straight plane as we go up and down. You can see that my chest is not moving at all. My hips aren't moving. The only thing that are moving are my legs here. Make sure that your hips are pointed towards the camera. Doing this for our last 4, 3, last 2. We're going to do one more set on each side. So either hopping or stepping or sliding over to the other side. We're going to add in a little added challenge here so you can lift up your front heel. So it's going to be a little bit of a balance challenge here, as you might see, but both of our heels are going to be up off the ground and we're bending down. Ooh, I'm losing my balance into our curtsy lunge. You can also choose to keep that front heel on the ground and stay in that curtsy, or you can bring that front heel up off the ground. Doing this for our last 4, last 3, last 2, and last 1. Hopping or skipping or stepping over to the other side. Doing the same thing over here. Choosing to either lift both heels up or leave the front one down. And going into our curtsy lunges. It's really awkward at first, but just learning to lean into that discomfort. Whatever choice you made this morning, whatever challenge, whatever route you're taking, listening to your body, choosing whatever workout is best for you. For 4, 3, 2, and 1. Shaking out those legs. We're going to move out of our curtsy lunges. And we're going to start back into that squat that we talked about just a little bit ago. So as we go into our squat, we're sending our hips back. Our back is flat. Our core is engaged. Our hips are going to be slightly tucked under. So curling that pelvis down a little bit. Not flexing it, but curling it down. Scooping it. Sending those hips back. Coming back straight. So sending those hips back. Just going into our normal squat here. Don't need to worry about going all the way down, but checking in on that form, making sure that those hips are staying tucked under. Immediately you can feel your rib cage cave down in towards your stomach, in towards your hips. Working that core, working those glutes, working those quads. Making sure that our weight is staying in the heels of both of our feet here. Doing this for 4, 3, last 2. On this last one, meet me halfway down. I'm going to turn back towards you now. So meeting me halfway down, we're going to take our right leg, send it back into our lunge here. And then we're going to bring it back into our squat and send it wide. So we're going to feel more of a stretch in this position, but in all these cases, we're sending our weight into those back heels and alternating. Staying in this mid-range squat the whole time. So really starting to feel it burn out that left quad. We have 2 more sets here together. One last set before we switch sides, making sure that we're breathing through. Switching sides, sending our left leg back and stepping out into our side lunge for that stretch. Two more sets to go here. And our last set, breathing through and shaking it out a little bit. We have one more challenge position here, going back into our squat. I know we're not done yet. Sending our right leg back into our lunge. So we're at this midpoint here. Starting at our midpoint, we're going midpoint all the way down. All the way down. Keeping it nice and slow. Let's check on our form. Scoop that tailbone under. You're gonna start to feel it more in that right quad whenever you do that. Making sure that your chest isn't sinking forward. We have a perfect line in our chest for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bringing that foot back up. We're switching sides, going all the way down. Scooping that tailbone underneath. Putting more weight into that back left toe. For 4, 3, 2, and 1. Shaking it out. We can grab a quad stretch here. Maybe you need to lean on something nearby. But grabbing that right foot, bringing that heel towards our glute. Taking a nice little rest here. Maybe jamming out to Renegade. Releasing that right foot, we're switching sides. I don't know about you guys, I'm already pretty warm. We can grab some water. I know I'm going to. So we're gonna transition now into our second position. So if you've been in bar before, you might know that first position has our heels glued together, our toes pointed wide. We're gonna start in our first position. Our hips, our tailbone is gonna be scooped underneath. Our hips are gonna be tilted forward. We're never sending our glutes back in this position. Moving from first position, we're gonna go into second position and back. So just alternating sides here. Let's check in on that chest. Bring those shoulders up, back, and down. Going back into our movement here. Doing 4 more sets. Three more. Last 2. Our last set here. Now as we come into our second position, we're gonna pulse 3 times at the bottom. So 1, 2, 3, back together, and 1, 2, 3, back together. Maybe feeling those quads burn up a little bit more, those inner thighs activating. Doing this for our last 4. Last 3. Last 2. Last 1. On this next one, meeting me in our second position. If you want that added challenge, you can lift those heels up off the ground, or you can stay with your heels on the floor, whatever you're feeling this morning. Bringing our arms out into our T. We're reaching side to side. So you can see that my hips aren't moving at all here. The only thing that's moving is my torso and my shoulders. Reaching out to our imaginary neighbors for 4, 3, 2, and last 1. Go ahead, shake it on out. We're gonna switch into our arm section. Starting it off, we have a little bit of cardio. You can choose whatever you feel is best for you here. We're gonna be acting like we're doing a punching bag. So you can choose whether or not you wanna stay on the balls of your feet as you do this, or you can just simply stay still, listen to your body, listen to where your heart rate is. We're gonna start by bringing our shoulders up Inhaling together, back, and as we send them down, we're exhaling, taking our arms into like a 90-degree position up towards our left side. We're gonna act like we're punching this bag. Brace that core, scoop that tailbone underneath. You can already feel it engage. We're gonna begin by just punching here, maybe bringing a little breeze towards your face. I know it doesn't feel like much maybe at this moment, but as we keep working through this motion, you'll begin to feel your biceps and your triceps start to burn. If you want, you can add a little bit of movement to this, like you're in the boxing ring. Doing this together here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let's switch sides. Bring your little breeze maybe towards the right side of your body now. We're just choosing to stay still here. Whatever feels best. I know I'm already starting to feel it get a little warm. Loosening up these muscles. Check in on those shoulders. Make sure that they're down. They're not creeping up towards your ears. Doing this for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Meet me with your hands in your field goal position. Turn your fists towards your face, towards one another. We're going to do high bicep curls here. So keeping that lower body stationary. We are listening to Say So if you're familiar with the TikTok dance, you're going to be doing this in the dance. So this is kind of adopted from that. Checking in on those shoulders. For 4, 3, 2, and 1. We're going to begin by doing some nice arm circles here, straightening those arms. I know this feels pretty good for me. If you're familiar with the Blinding Lights song, you might know that they do this a lot. So this is a little bit adapted from that. Just getting that nice stretch, switching directions here, sending those arms forward, the wheels of a car, making these nice big circles, stretching it out here. We're going to move from these big circles into slightly smaller, slower circles to bringing our arms into our T, checking in on those shoulders, having that proud chest here, that nice shoulder width stance. We're making slow circles forward, palms facing the ground, keeping it nice and slow here and controlled. Already feeling those arm muscles burning out. Breathing throughout this motion. And switching direction, sending these arm circles backwards now. Man, going slow really start to feel it more. And doing this for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bringing our arms into that. I know we're not done yet. Bringing our arms into that T. I'm feeling it too. We're moving 1 inch up, 1 inch down. So really targeting these shoulder blades right now. Checking in. Those shoulder blades should be super close to one another, like you have a pencil between them. I know I'm already feeling the burnout in my arms. We got 4 more here. 3, 2, last 1. Shake out those arms. We're going to take our left arm, send it across our chest, grabbing above or below the elbow joint. I know I need a towel. I am sweaty right now.
It's morning.
We're gonna move out of our arm section into our core next, sending our right arm across our chest, just taking a second to stretch here before we move into our core. We're gonna start off in a push-up position. So if you have any wrist or shoulder issues, feel free to modify this. I'll give you an added stretch on your back. So this is grabbing above or below the elbow again, feeling this in our triceps. But for your core, just listening to your body and making sure that you're not putting anything in pain. There's a really big distinction, and with that in our workouts, want to make sure that we're pushing ourselves but not in pain. Switching sides. Breathing through the stretch. Releasing that arm. So we're going to start at the base of our mat, taking a nice deep breath in here together as we exhale, sending our chest forward into our forward fold, bending those knees as we need, getting that nice stretch in our hamstrings. We're going to begin to walk out our hands into our plank position. So checking that we have that nice flat back here. This is a little bit of a challenge. Feel free if you would like to leave your knees on the ground, whatever feels best for you in this moment. We're going to start off in a progression. So if you want to sink into down dog as I'm explaining, you certainly can. But we're going to start with first raising one arm, and then going into 3 mountain climbers together. And then what we're going to do is we're going to raise one leg, and then back into our 3 mountain climbers. So if you just think about it, we're alternating between these arms and legs. Oop, I did too many arms, sorry. And doing like that. So whenever you're ready, coming out of our down dog, if you're choosing to stay with your knees on the ground, you can just lift up your legs as so. And whenever you do the mountain climbers, you can feel free just to do some shoulder taps with those arms here as a modification. But we're going to do 4 sets here together. So pushing into whatever position feels most comfortable for you, starting it off, going into our mountain climbers. 1 set here, breathing through. It's our second set. We just got 1 more set left here. Last mountain climbers. Feel free to sink it back into our child's pose. Get that little break. We're going to do 1 more set of 4 together. And then we'll switch it on up. So if you are having push-up issues, maybe shoulder or wrist issues, you can be on your back, moving just 1 inch up, 1 inch down. That's the next move that we'll be moving into. But if you are sticking with me in our push-up, we got 1 more set here together, lifting it on up together, raising our arms. That's 1. Breathing throughout, making sure that we have that flat back. That's 2. That's 3. Our last one here. And taking that break. You guys killed it through the core section. You killed it through the core section. We're just gonna breathe here together. Sorry. Taking this break in our child's pose. My family's bustling about, sorry for the interruption. We're gonna go into, next we're gonna be on our back. We're gonna start with our hands behind our back. Our feet are going to be straight on out in front of us. We're gonna start by sending our our chest towards the ground, bending our arms generously, lifting our legs up. So we're in this V-like position with our legs, coming up, crunching those legs up here, bending them, and then sending them long. So bending those legs. It might look kind of weird, but you should begin to feel it. Activate that core. Doing this for 4, 3, 2, last one. Letting those feet come down onto the ground. Reaching those arms in front of us. We're gonna scoop that tailbone underneath. So you should immediately feel it target that core. Having that nice scoop in our pelvis. Our arms straight on in front of us. Our thumbs are towards the sky. We're gonna slowly sink it back towards our challenge point and back up 1 inch. So to our challenge point, back up 1 inch. So in our challenge point, you should begin to feel some shaking. I know I am. And back up 1 inch. So just the slightest movement, really activating all parts of our core here. Breathing through this exercise. We got 4 more here together before we start to open it up to our sides. Last 2, last 1. We're gonna start by opening our arm up towards our side as we sink it back to our challenge point. Making a big triangle, 90-degree angle with those arms here. Getting that deep exhale as we sink into that challenge point. We have 4 more here together, 2 on each side. Last 2, last 1. Taking a nice break here, maybe going into our butterfly stretch. So bringing our feet together, sending our knees wide, getting a nice stretch in those inner thighs. Taking a nice break here, just to breathe, grab some water. Maybe grab a towel if you have it nearby you. We did awesome through the core section. We're going to be switching into our bar section. So yet again, feel free to take your time, make your way to standing. Grab something really quick. Okay. So as we make our way to standing, we're going to be grabbing our imaginary bar. So I'm going to be grabbing the chair that's nearby me, but you can feel free to grab a countertop, a wall, whatever you need. Sorry about that slight disruption. I think someone left a charger over in the bar area, the bar class. So we were trying to signal to one another. We're going to start off in our first position. So our heels are going to be glued together. Our hips are tucked underneath. We have our shoulders up, back, and down, that proud chest. So you can't see it, but you should be able to see Campus Rec on my t-shirt. Maybe you have something else that you're wearing this morning. We're going to be going through our first position rotation, lifting up our heels, bending our knees, bringing our heels back down to the ground, and straightening up. So bringing our heels up, bending those knees down, and straightening. Lift, bend, lower, straighten. So just getting used to this position here, loosening up these muscles. I don't know about you guys, but we've had really beautiful weather here, like alternating between sun and thunderstorms about every day. Finally getting to feel some of that summer weather. I'm in Pennsylvania, so things are beginning to open up a little bit more. You can now like sit outside and eat at restaurants and all of that jazz. I don't know. I think some pools have like limited hours or a certain number of people that they can have. So we're doing this for just 2 more sets. Before now we're going to switch directions. So we're first bending, lifting, straightening, and lowering. Bend, lift, straighten, lower. Sometimes I get a little jumbled in my head. I know it's kind of hard to keep up with since we're going through 4 different movements in this position. So bend, lift, straighten, lower. We have 2 more sets here. And last one. Go ahead, shake it on out. I think I jumbled a little bit at the end. We're now going to start back in our first position. I think my map's getting a little jumbled. Starting back in our first position, lifting those heels up off the ground, bringing them towards one another. We're going to start by shaking our hips all the way down and bringing them back up. So right, left, right, right, left, right. Just getting a little jazzy in here. Doing just 2 more sets here together. And this is our last set here. We're going to start by going down, halfway down, and then bringing it up to one side. Halfway down, bringing it up to the other side. So we're shifting that hip, shifting that weight into alternating sides. Feeling this in our quads, in our glutes. Bringing those inner thighs together. Checking in on that breath. We have 2 more here. And last one. Shaking out those legs. Let's grab a glute stretch. So taking our left foot, crossing it on over onto our right thigh, sending our weight back into that right heel. You should feel it all in that left glute. We're now going to move out of our bar portion into our floor portion. Switching sides, crossing that right foot on over that left thigh here. Getting that nice stretch. And shaking it on out. We can move our imaginary bar out of the way. Send it back behind you. Making our way back down to seated. So starting at the base of our mat. Taking our nice deep breath in, reaching those arms towards the sky as we exhale. Going back into our forward fold. You're probably pretty familiar with this at this point. We're going to walk our hands out into our push-up just here for a second as we extend back into our downward dog. Begin by pedaling out those legs, getting that stretch. We're going to bring our knees down towards the ground into our child's pose. Coming on out of that downward dog. Holding it here in our child's pose for just 1 second. Go ahead, bend those arms, bring them towards where your head is right now. So as we push up, we should have our weight going towards those ankles. Swing around those legs into our seated position. We're going to move into our bridge now. So you have two options as you go into a bridge. You can either leave your feet shoulder width distance apart, or you can choose to bring them together into a first position stance with your feet. In our first position stance, you're going to feel it more in those hamstrings. And in your just same shoulder width distance, you'll still feel it. It'll just be targeting different muscles and more targeting those glutes. So choose whatever is best for you today. Bringing our chest towards the ground. Let's scoop that tailbone underneath as we have before. So that might involve shifting more weight back towards those shoulders and just adjusting this stance. So choose whichever position is best for those feet. We're going to unglue our hips up off the ground, sending our hips towards the sky, and slowly lower back down. So I think the thing with our glute bridge is we don't need to worry about making it go as high as we can. We're just going to listen to our body and challenge ourselves to really work those muscles as hard as we can. So we're just working through these full motion, full reps here. Making sure that we're really pushing those hips up towards the sky. We're not activating too much of our lower back here and straining that portion. We want to really work on those glutes. Focus on those glutes and hamstrings throughout this motion. Doing it to the beat of the song, maybe. We have 4 more here together before we change up our motion. Last 2. On this last one, you're meeting me at the top of our position. So once you meet me here, we're going to start by bringing those knees together. Feeling it on the outside parts of our glutes here. As we bring our knees together, maybe worry less about touching those knees and worry more about bringing those inner thighs towards one another. So my knees aren't touching each other, but I'm more worried about activating those inner thighs, activating those external glutes here. Doing this for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Taking a nice break, lowering those hips down towards the ground. We have 1 more pulsing section in our glute bridge. So slowly lowering back up. This time we're sending our knees wide. Yet again, not trying to over externally rotate here, but beginning to feel those glutes work maybe in a different place. Doing this for 4, breathing here. Last 2, last 1. Slowly lowering those hips down towards the floor. We're gonna switch out of being on our back and switch on over into our tabletop position. So go ahead, roll on over towards your stomach, on out of our bridge position. We're going to start by putting our hands right underneath our shoulders, bracing our knees, pushing on up. So we're going to move our knees directly underneath our hips. Our hands are going to be directly underneath our shoulders. We should make a perfect square with our arms, our torso, and our like half of our legs, I suppose. So we're just going to start by going through some nice cat-cow rotations here. So dipping our torso towards the floor, bringing our gaze towards the sky, and switching here, bringing our head towards our quads, arching our back here and switching it back on up. We have 4 more sets here together. Listening to that breath. Last 2 sets here. And last one. All right, and then we're gonna make our back neutral, so we're not arched in our cat or our cow, we're neutral here. We should feel super grounded in our knees and our arms, so if someone tried to push us over, we wouldn't move at all, so you can even try by just shifting your weight between those knees. You should slightly quiver, but not move too much here. We're gonna push our weight into our left knee and our left arm, but not too much, and into our right arm. We're going to start by detaching our right knee from the ground and going with our foot, our leg bent into a 90-degree, just doing these raises here, bent raises, keeping that back neutral, so not arching it or letting that torso dip towards the ground. Letting our gaze fall less than a foot in front of our arms. We want to have a nice long neck. Raising that heel towards the ceiling. We were in class, we would say bursting through those ceiling tiles. So maybe making a hole in the plaster of your home. Doing this for 4 more here. 3. Last 2. On this last one, meet me with that knee high in the air. We're feeling that power through that heel here, trying to bring it as close to 90 as we can. We're making circles with this knee. So keeping it bent, keeping that foot flexed, keeping our back neutral, clockwise circles here, beginning to feel different parts of that glute muscle. Doing these for 4, 3, 2, and 1. We're switching directions, so going counterclockwise now. Feeling more of our hamstring targeted here. Feeling that power through that flexed foot. Raising that knee as high as we can towards the sky. For 4, 3, 2, and 1. Lowering that right knee. We're going to switch it out this time, going into our fire hydrant. So we're going to take our right knee, keep our foot flexed as it was before, but we're going to make our inner thigh parallel with the ground, sending our leg wide and bringing it back down to the floor, just like we're a dog at a fire hydrant here. Breathing throughout this movement. Doing this for our last 4 before we switch sides. Last 2, last 1. We're going to switch sides, this time targeting our left leg, keeping that leg bent. I'm going to turn around just so you can see me a little bit better. Keeping that left foot flexed. We're sending it back just into these simple bent raises first. Sending that heel towards the sky. As we said, maybe making a hole in our ceilings. Not arching that back. Checking in on those arms, making sure that we're not putting too much pressure in them. We have to making sure we have a slight bend in those elbows. We don't want to add too much stress. into the rest of our body here. We're mainly just targeting these glutes. Doing this for 4, 3, 2, you know what comes next. Meeting me with that leg raised in the air. We're going to start by doing our circles clockwise, foot flexed, our neck long, our gaze towards the mat, a foot in front of our hands. Getting those deep breaths here, not forgetting the most important part. Doing this for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Switching directions, going counterclockwise here. Checking in, making sure that those hips are staying level. Super easy to shift all that weight into the right hip on this one, but we really want to make sure that we're keeping it neutral here. If that means walking your hands over a little bit more, maybe just stopping, checking in. Doing this for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Lowering that leg. We have one last movement on this side, going into our fire hydrants, flexing that left foot, sending it wide, just like we're at a dog, at a fire hydrant here. Bringing that inner thigh parallel with the floor, having that nice 90-degree bend in that leg, that slight bend in those arms. Doing this for our last 4 here. Last 2, last 1. Go ahead, sink it back into a child's pose. We're getting a nice little break here. Checking in on just our class. We have one more exercise here together. We're going to be going into our Supermans to finish off this class strong. So pushing out of our downward or our child's pose, we're going to send our torso towards the floor in our upward dog. Slowly lowering that chest towards the floor in our cobra. So our hands are going to be directly underneath those shoulders. I'm pushing out a little bit just because my arms are too long at the moment, but straightening those arms out in front of us. Our gaze is towards the floor, so our face is in towards the mat. The tops of our feet are on the floor as well, bringing our legs nice and wide. We're going to start acting like we're Superman, flying through the air by lifting our arms and legs and our chest at the same time. So lifting them up together here, creating a nice long line for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Slowly lowering it down. We have 4 sets here together. Lifting these arms and legs up for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Slowly lowering down. Trying to make that chest go as high as you can, bringing it as much off the floor as you can to target that core. Lifting up together, we are halfway done for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Our last one, let's make it our best one here. Holding it for 8 this time. So coming up together for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Slowly lowering down. Moving into our cool down here. Bringing our hands directly underneath those shoulders. We're going to push into our upward dog. Keeping the tops of our feet on the floor, our chest lifted on up. We're going to switch our feet, pushing back into our downward dog.
Bringing our chest towards our thighs here. And feeling free to move around, maybe shifting your weight from one leg into the other to get a deeper stretch in those hamstrings. Maybe shifting our weight in those arms. Pedaling out those feet here.
I'm gonna move forward a little bit myself.
We're gonna go into our three-legged dog. So we're gonna take our right foot, unglue it from the floor, raise it high in the air. Keep that foot pointed. Bringing that right knee into our chest. We're gonna plant our right foot in between these hands here, sinking into this deep runner's lunge. So you should begin to feel this stretch in your left hip flexor. Keeping that left knee up off the ground, sinking deep into the stretch, letting our gaze stay towards the mat. We're going to slowly lower that left knee towards the ground. Switch that left foot, rocking our hands back into our hip flexor stretch here, sending more weight towards those hips. We're going to remember to scoop that tailbone underneath. You should immediately feel that stretch kick in more on this left hip flexor. Maybe bringing that front leg a little bit closer. If you want an added stretch, you can lift up this left arm, creating a nice long line from our fingertips all the way through our knee. And cartwheeling those arms back down to the ground for a deep runner's lunge. We're gonna switch and bring that right knee down towards the floor into our pigeon stretch. So trying to make our shin parallel with the top of the mat. You should feel it in that right glute here, that nice stretch. Holding it here for just one more moment before we're going to switch sides and do the same thing on our left side. So flipping that left foot, we're going to push more weight back into that left foot like we're in a push-up. We're going to unravel this right leg, send it high into our three-legged dog again, lowering it back down into our downward dog. We're going to switch sides, this time bringing our left foot up, bringing that knee in towards our chest. We're going to plant this left foot down into our deep runner's lunge. So getting that nice stretch through that right hip flexor here. Slowly lowering that right knee down towards the floor. We're going to walk these hands back, putting more weight into that back right leg. We're going to scoop our tailbone underneath. You should immediately feel that target, that hip flexor more as we send that pelvis forward. If you want that added stretch, you can lift your right arm, creating a nice long line. Holding it here, breathing throughout this stretch.
I'm doing it right now. That's what
We're going to cartwheel our arms down towards the floor, going back into that deep runner's lunge. We're going to take our left shin, bring it down towards the floor, bring that knee down towards the floor into our pigeon stretch. Feeling that stretch in our left glute here. Bringing your chest as close to the floor as you can. breathing through. Thanking your body for all of the work that it's done in barre today. For motivating yourself to get up on a Sunday morning and do this workout. We're gonna flip that right foot, add energy, bring that right knee up off the ground. Unravel this left leg going into our three-legged dog. Slowly lowering that left foot down towards the ground. We're going to begin to slowly walk our feet up towards our hands, bending those knees as we need, being gentle. We finish off this class, grabbing those elbows with both of your hands, having that slight bend in those knees. We're just going to fold here, limp in our forward fold. And to finish off our class, we can release these arms, taking a deep breath in, bringing our chest on up, rising with our deep breath. As we exhale, bringing our arms towards our sides. Thank you guys so much for joining me in barre this morning.